Ibis Paint X is a free art app that you can use on your phone or tablet. Besides a few premium options and add-ons, it is a good and functional free art app. You might see it as a gateway art program for a lot of beginner artists trying to get into digital art. As such, Ibis Paint X actually has its own YouTube channel where they have a bunch of art tutorials to teach you about the functions of the program or how to draw something. I've even already tried a good number of them on my channel. But in my research, I guess you could call it, I unwittingly uncovered some strange videos and even lore about Ibis Paint X that I can only label as unhinged. And yes, they do scare me sometimes. So this video is one half a drawing process video, but it is also another half my field research of the puzzling world of Ibis Paint X tutorials. So if you're down for this weird amalgamation of drawing cute anime girls, but also uncovering unhinged lore, I guess you've come to the right place. And to be clear, I'm still going to be trying out Ibis Paint X tutorials during all this because there are some pretty good ones in the mist too. I began my journey by opening up Ibis Paint X for what would feel like my 100th time. I bid hello to my inconspicuous, as always, daily rankings, then proceed to my gallery. Here, I created my new canvas that I always have at 2000 by 2500 pixels because it is suitable for most social media sites. And now, away we went to finally being face to face with our beloved and yet at times suspicious Ibis Paint X drawing app. Before I began drawing, I had to acknowledge the many comments informing me that there was a much easier way to summon the reference window. And that is by simply pressing this toggle button here and ta-da! Simply turn on the reference window button instead of going through the whole debacle of enabling it in the settings. Thank you once again to you lovely people for bringing this to my attention and reminding me just how peanut-brained I am. And as always, I can't forget to check in and watch my daily ad to unlock all the brushes on Ibis Paint. I began sketching, simply creating gestural shapes and lines to outline where I wanted things to be on the canvas. Once I was happy with the placement of everything, I created new layers to make a cleaner sketch on top. At this point, I enlisted the help of my favorite tools, the Liquify pen and Transform tool, to help further correct my placement of things. I also separated everything into different layers so that I could individually move things around and fix them if needed. But as you can see, with so many layers, it can get rather messy. Luckily, I encountered our very first Ibis Paint tutorial to remedy this issue. Oh, finished illustration. There's a little mark on her face. Oh no. What layer could it be? Oh no. Story of my life. So the solution. Go to settings. Okay, change the thumbnail to only contents. Aha. Can we find it? Oh, we've spotted the issue. This seems pretty useful. I like that. Woohoo! Alright, so to enable the layer thumbnail option, you'll want to press this arrow at the bottom right here. Then you'll go to settings and scroll all the way down to the layer window thumbnail options and select only contents. Now, each layer only shows its inside contents and not the entire surrounding canvas. Since I made so many layers, I could now easily identify and move around parts while working. It is such a simple thing, but I can imagine this will be very helpful to those of you who might be like me that end up using hundreds of layers. So I'm going to give Ibis Paint 1 brownie point for this tutorial. And now our sketch is finished. As I continued scouring through tutorial videos to try on the Ibis Paint page, I started finding very strange videos. Ah! I am so confused. Oh, there he is again. I was not expecting him in this tutorial. What the?
What the heck?
What the heck?
Oh, hello.
What?
Ibis Paint.
What on earth?
半額のネギを
Wait a minute. Upon watching, I realized something seemed very familiar about this video. So I went back to my old videos and aha, there he was. I found this similar recurring character in those Ibis Paint tutorials as well. Intrigued and perhaps a little fearful of this strange blank-faced character, I had to investigate further. That's when I came across this video.
アイビスペイントの昔のアイコンはこれ。ア
Hmm.
イビスペイントは昔レイヤーが6枚しか追加できな
Only 6 layers?
動画によく出てくる白いやつは白玉人間くんという名前。
There he is! Apparently, this character's name is Shiratama Ningen-kun. I did my best to translate this, and Shiratama directly means white balls, while Ningen means human. So I figured he must literally be a white ball head man. Now, this discovery was very interesting to me because I never imagined that there was actual lore behind this character, let alone a name. As I went further down this Shiratama Ningen-kun rabbit hole, I learned that his favorite food is Shiratama, like in his name, which are white mochi balls. Furthermore, that would mean he enjoys eating his own kind, yet he denies being a cannibal. Okay, these are Ibis Paint's words, not mine, okay? I am just as afraid as you are. The last bit of lore Shiratama has in this video is that he is considered the unofficial character of Ibis Paint because he isn't good looking enough to be an official character.
とても悔しい思いをした。
So, out of frustration, he shows up as often as he can in videos in hopes of being an official character one day. I was speechless to come across the unsuspecting lore of cannibalistic Shiratama Ningen who invades Ibis Paint tutorials out of spite. And honestly, it raised more questions than answers. I now had to uncover more of his lore. But you know what else also has tons of unsuspecting lore? Anime Idol Boys, and also the sponsor of today's video. Ensemble Stars Music is an immersive mobile rhythm game where you can scout for pretty idol boys and watch them perform in 3D while you play. When I first played Ensemble Stars, I was shook by how nuanced and sometimes dark the story was. Not only is the game's story extremely well written, the cast are voiced by top voice actors.
世界に愛とアメイジングを
You can decorate your own office, dress up your idols, and find other secret neat features in the game. Right now, Ensemble Stars Music is celebrating its 2nd anniversary. Starting June 16th, you can log in every day during the celebration to get a 5-star guaranteed free 10 Scout ticket, an additional free 10 Scout ticket, 1,500 diamonds, and Idol Chibi anniversary cards. During the celebration, you can scout for 5-star card Wataru Hibiki in the new Scout Amazing Voyage. Log in every day during the celebration to get 1 free daily scout and enjoy previous scouts and featured scouts. Ensemble Stars is also introducing the new program, Producer Induction. By completing it, you can win a happy 2nd anniversary 10 Scout ticket, 1,000 diamonds, and a training item package. You can get all this and enjoy much more of the anniversary festivities by following my link in the description. Alright, let's take a break from the lore talk to get back to drawing and trying out more tutorials. I lined my artwork in layers here so that I could easily adjust things if needed. I used the pen fade brush with an opacity of about 75% to create this soft line art look. At this point, I was trying to figure out what to do with her hand, which was when I came across this next Ibis Paint tutorial.
ちょっと手だけだ
Trying to draw the hand. Yes, we've all been there. Muzakashi, it's so hard.
使う材
Okay,
質
so
トレス素材かっこ
go to materials
開きます
and
ああたくさん素材
ooh, some
この素材
hand
の使い方
materials.
一部
Make it
上手
easier.
いい感じ
Wow, that really blended in really well.
部分を使ってみ
I'm
て
gonna try that. The first thing you're going to want to do is to go to the material section on the top right. Then select Tracing Sketches Partial and scroll through to find a material you like. Once you've chosen, place it in the correct place. Now you can just color it in, but I like to trace over it to match my style. And honestly, this tip is really useful and time efficient. The materials are pretty high quality, but I wouldn't recommend that you rely on tracing 100% of the time. You should practice drawing hands to improve and understand anatomy, as well as learn to draw them from imagination. But as a tool, this is a great material to have and it definitely works. So I'm going to give Ibis Paint another brownie point for this tutorial. Afterwards, I went ahead and began finishing up the rest of my line art. So I'll see you in a bit. Alright, with the line art finished, it was time to go ahead and watch our next tutorial. guys have this issue? Where you don't know how thick the line art should be? I have the energy to draw it all over again. Same. Okay. When you finish the line art, their trick is to expand and contract it. Ooh. Okay, let's see how we do that. Okay, so we're selecting the lines. And then expand and contract it. Okay. Just fill it in a new layer. Sounds easy enough. Let's try it. To do this, you're going to want to open the Layer tab, select the three dots here, then press Select Opacity on your line art. I've put mine in a folder to select all the lines at once. Afterwards, you'll want to hide your line art layers and press on the selection area. Go to the square on the top right, select Expand Contraction Selection, and expand or contract to your desired amount. Now you'll want to fill it in a new layer. Here's how mine looked after expanding by 1 pixel, and here's after contracting by 1 pixel. So this does work, but it doesn't work that well on line art where the opacity varies like mine. Instead, it'll become a standard bold straight line. You can see that it also looked very uneven, especially at the eyes. This is definitely my own fault since my line art is so unclean. But essentially, I don't find myself using this tip, so I can't give it a brownie point. But we were done with the line art, and it was now time to keep looking for videos on the Ibis Paint page. Speaking of which, I had continued my investigation on Shiratama Ningen. My curiosity led me to wonder, where did he come from? And more importantly, who made him? So I went through the oldest videos on the channel, which were just regular tutorials with music and no voiceover. I did notice that these were all shot on an older iPhone model indicated by the circle button at the bottom, which will become an important detail later. Eventually, I came across the first spotting of Shiratama on this older iPhone model. My first evidence of Shiratama-kun, his butt all bare and everything. He showed up a second time in this video gushing over Ado. Here he is, scrolling his notifications. This is Ado's song, but he's like doing a cover. I'm about it. Then he appeared again, but on a newer iPhone model indicated by the lack of a circle button at the bottom and black edges. On to his usual shenanigans. From then on, he would appear frequently between these two iPhone models as well as in screen recordings. That is Shiratama Ningen-kun in all of his glory. He's working out, he's working on those abs. Yeah? These would occur with no context until finally we were caught up on the introduction video that initially revealed his name and ambitions at Ibis Paint. Still, I had no idea who could be behind Shiratama or why. But in my research, I uncovered this video showing 4 apparent artists behind the Ibis Paint channel. Okay, would this be the 4 artists behind the Ibis Paint page? From my little understanding, this is S, this is Mahi, this is you, and this is Misa. And because I am a curious little detective, I went on to try and figure out who was who in each video. Mahi's art style was the most distinguishable. She has a more realistic, delicate art style and often used screen recordings. Also, the videos she's featured in tends to use a softer voice model, but this can change from time to time. I recognized Misa's art style from the videos with a newer iPhone model, as her style always used sparkly eyes and a cute style. I also found out that the main brown-haired girl we saw in the videos was also named Misa, so this might be her persona. She tends to use a more energetic voice model. Yu was hard to distinguish, but I realized that her intricate hair coloring was very unique with a detailed art style, and she also tended to use screen recording. Finally, that left us with the identity of S. I realized that she must be the owner of the older iPhone model and also the creator of the first videos on the channel. Her art style was cute, but also she had an insane art improvement that I had to applaud. My theory was proven correct in this video where they were asking questions to the community, but S's name was actually Esu. Now, I recalled back to the very first video Shiratama ever appeared on, and it was indeed the older iPhone model. This indicated to me that Esu may have been the creator of Shiratama, while the others jumped in on including him for fun. I tried to dig further into the 4 artists, but suspiciously, I couldn't find any information on them. Ibis Paint didn't follow any artists on their various social media pages, and there was nothing about the artist on the page. So I reached a dead end on this lead. My current running theory is that he's a gag character that SU created, and everyone jumped in to include him because they found it fun. And I honestly found it really cute that it was 4 girls running the channel together. It honestly sounds like an ideal job to me. And then, when I finally thought I put a rest to my curiosity about Shiratama, I came across the videos that would continue to instill fear into me today.
かわいい
What is this?
かわいい
What is this? What?
かわいい
What's... What?
かわいい
What?
かわ
I
いい
am so confused.
Here.
What the-
What the heck?
What the heck?
Oh.
What?
Oh, handsome.
What
Keep
on
sharp.
earth?
Man
Okay.
Boxing Day.
Now I have learned new pieces of information. That is, when Shiratama puts on a suit, his face is replaced with the Ibis Paint logo, and now Misa found him cute. However, this title, Mole Man, and this suspicious imagery of Shiratama hiding under the mask jumped out at me. Has Shiratama gone undercover to finally infiltrate Ibis Paint headquarters? I suppose we can only see how much further this story will go. But first, let's continue our artwork. It was now time to add the base colors, and I had a tip to help with that in the next Ibis Paint tutorial.
色を塗っていこう
Yeah,
どこを塗られて
sometimes when you're coloring with light color, it can be hard to
ま
see.
あそんな時は
So, what's their trick?
背景色変更を
Telling you to
使おう
change the background
個
color.
人的には濃い緑がくっきり見えるのでおすすめだよ
Ooh,
あ
this is a good one. Did you guys know about this?
塗る色によって見えづらかった
You can change the
色を塗る
background
よ
by
ね
just tapping on that little
背
icon.
景色はそのまま背景の
Let's
色
try
に
it.
塗るぜ
To access this function, all you need to do is open the layer menu, and then at the bottom right, select the white background color, change it to any color you want. I'm going to select a gray color. Now you can easily see where you're coloring and also change the background at any time you want. This is a very useful tip, and it is a very convenient way to easily change the background color. However, I'm not sure if it deserves a brownie point just because it's not entirely groundbreaking stuff. The first thing I colored was the skin, and I always like to start with the pink and red tones on the face like the blush, lips, etc. Once that was finished, I could get started on coloring the hair. However, this time, I was going to try something different and follow an Ibis Paint hair coloring tutorial. How to draw hair. Alright, so first, drawn in bundles. I'm probably only going to do the coloring portion of this since I've already drawn the hair.
この辺りを塗る
Well, this is quite detailed.
上下を削る
Erase it.
上下をぼかす
Aha.
影より少し明るい
There's a lot of parts to this.
ハイライト上下を削る
Huh?
両端を
Erase it, okay.
五線ペンで紙下
Ah. That seems like a cool trick. I think this might be fun. Let's see if it will look good on my art. Alright, so the first thing we're going to want to do, according to the tutorial, is select a darker color and start adding shading to the hair. It looks like you're going to want to focus on the edges of the hair as well as some areas that will incur darkness naturally. You're generally going for these triangle types of shapes here. Next, you'll want to erase away some parts of that shading with a small pen brush to create strands and shapes. Now, select a color lighter than that shade color and create some volume shading in between locks of hair. You'll want to avoid the edges of the locks. Then grab a soft eraser and erase the top and bottom of that shading, creating these zigzag motions. Afterwards, you'll want to blur out some of the edges. Now, take a lighter shade and shade on top of the previous edge shading to create more depth and volume in the shading. I'll also sprinkle that color around where I want to create more layers of depth. Take a highlight shade and block in some highlights. Then erase the edges in a zigzag motion like we did earlier. Finally, take a soft airbrush and erase away the edges. For some extra pizzazz, take this 5 lines brush and brush it in various hair colors throughout the shading. It adds some fun interest. For the very last part, you can add some strands to the hair on top of everything. I'm going to do this very slightly. the tutorial is finished. I think that hair coloring tutorial was easy and fun to do, and it makes a large difference in the quality of your hair coloring. So, if you're looking for a new way to spice up your coloring, try out some of these tips and see if they help. I'm going to give Ibis Paint a brownie point for that tutorial. I suppose now would be a good time to finally mention who I'm drawing. So, I'm drawing my own fan design of a human My Melody that I did a few weeks back. I had my Instagram and Thread followers help vote on her color scheme. So thank you guys for helping me decide her color scheme. It's now time to go ahead and finish adding colors, so I'll be back soon. For the lighting, I like to add the shadows using a multiply layer with the lasso tool, and depending on what I feel like, I would select the opposite section and fill in the lighting with an overlay or add layer. I'd like to do this in sections starting with the skin, then hair, then all the other clothing parts. I did the same for Little My Melody and continued finishing up the colors. And now, our coloring on the characters was finished. Let us now move on to the background. But before that, I took a short break to try out a fun and different type of tutorial. Let's give it a watch. Oh boy, another blinking tutorial. That looks pretty good, but I feel like mine won't look like that. But okay, let's see how we do this. Duplicate the layer, and then erase the eye. That looks kind of terrifying, but... Okay, look 5 pen, drag it down. Sure thing. Got it. Mine will not look like that, but let's try. Alright, I am confident mine is not going to look anywhere near as good as that, but let's try anyways. Firstly, we need to make the background transparent by going to Layer and selecting this option at the bottom right. I think this is optional, but I did it anyways. Then you'll want to duplicate your artwork. By the way, you'll want to make sure everything is merged down. Now you'll want to erase the eyeball area under the top lashes. However, I erased part of the face too because it was starting to create issues later on. Now select the special tool and then liquify pen and drag your eyelash down so that it turns into a blink. This was really difficult and I just could not get it to look right, so I pretty much gave up at the end. Then you'll want to open the cogwheel and adjust the strength to create your blinking motion. And mine turned out... Ah! What is that? Terrifying. Very, very terrifying. I did not like this at all. Let's move on quickly and pretend this tutorial never happened. After that uncanny segue, it was now time to finally work on the background. I had no idea what I wanted to do with the background, so I turned to an Ibis Paint tutorial to give me ideas. Ooh, what's this? Kaleidoscope ruler background. This seems fun. It's kind of like a really cool graphic. Okay, on a ruler, select a filter. Pick your colors. Okay. Right. Lasso fill. And let's see. Wow. Okay, that looks really cool. Hopefully I can look somewhat cool like that. Let's see. So to do this cool trick, you'll want to head to the ruler button at the top right, then turn on the kaleidoscope ruler. I just left this at default and go to FX filter. Scroll and select the parallel gradation option, and then choose your gradient type and angle. Then you'll want to make a new layer. Now you'll want to put that layer on overlay mode. Next, create a new layer underneath. Finally, select the special pen and choose lasso fill under settings and set it to exclusion mode, and choose a gray color for your brush. Now all you'll want to do is swipe your finger around to create patterns. And frankly, this was quite cool. I thought the effect looked very interesting at times, but I was not skilled enough to make a really cool pattern. I couldn't really understand how it worked, although it sometimes created neat patterns. But even though I sucked, I think the trick is really cool, so I'm going to give it a brownie point anyways. From then on, I just messed around with various effects and settings to create a background. To be honest with you, I just tried random things, but it was very fun to see what kind of background concoction I could come up with. And now our background is finished. After watching what felt like hours of Ibis Paint and Shiratama Ningen content, here are my concluding thoughts on the whole situation. Shiratama Ningen is obviously a gag character created by the 4 Ibis Paint artists behind the page. Those girls are very funny and very talented, but I am still very curious about Shiratama and his future shenanigans. What initially started as a fear over this cannibalistic scheming white ball headman slowly turned into this morbid curiosity over him. I am very inclined to see what new shenanigans he will be up to now that he's successfully infiltrated the Ibis Paint headquarters. Will he win Misa's heart and turn her against the other 3? Or perhaps will he climb the ranks and become the new CEO of Ibis Paint? Maybe he will start indoctrinating others into the Shiratama cult? I have no idea, but the possibilities seem endless. I am very intrigued to see how this will all unfold. But for now, this concludes my field research of the puzzling world of Ibis Paint X tutorials. Perhaps I'll be uncovering new information in the future. And who knows, maybe Shiratama is hiding somewhere in this very video as well. With my research concluded, it was finally time to try out our last Ibis Paint tutorial. I came across this very cute video idea that I'll now have us watch together. Glowing heart brushes, that is so cute. You make cute effects, that is really cute. Aww. I used to do this with my pictures all the time. I take a picture of like a cute dog or a cute cat. Okay. So this tutorial features a glowing heart brush that you can download at the end of the video. However, I wanted to see if I could just create my own version using the default brush in Ibis Paint by messing around with some settings. So from here on, you'll see me playing around with the settings of the glitter heart brush where I'm mostly adjusting the jitter settings. I had the brush on add mode most of the time. I don't think I really succeeded in making a dupe of the brush, but I was happy enough as is with the effects I got by the end of it. For the final touches, I added some Ibis Paint materials and sparkly effects. We're just about finished with the piece now, but before we get to the final reveal, we need to calculate the final brownie point score for today's Ibis Paint tutorials. After trying out 8 different tutorials, I was able to give Ibis Paint 4 brownie points for today's tutorials. There was some good stuff, but also some really bad stuff too. But that concludes today's strange combination of lore deep diving and an art process video. Now let's move on ahead to enjoy the final reveal. What a strange and different video we have for today. I really hope you guys had some fun deep diving into the lore of Ibis Paint tutorials with me, and of course enjoyed today's art piece. It was a bit of research, but I was thoroughly entertained all the way by Shiratama and all the tutorials. By the way, if you're curious where I've been the last month, I just took a small break to recharge my creative juices. I'm hopefully back to be on your feeds again with more videos if you'll have me. The next one will most likely be me finishing up my VTuber, so that'll be an enjoyable one. But I suppose suppose I should hurry on to actually finishing it now. Alright then. Oh, also, enjoy all of these wonderful fan arts that the wonderful community has done. Thank you so much for your wonderful works and precious efforts of drawing me. Until next time, I'm wishing you all the best on your journeys of achieving your goals and dreams. Bye!